from the law library at the University of Buffalo. And I'm going to talk about the digital transfer from NTSC to the new digital broadcast system that will go into effect officially on February of 2009. Originally, I had been planning this program with a colleague for about a year for the AALL meeting in Portland, Oregon next month. And I called John, I emailed John and asked him, well, maybe I should test drive it on CALI people first. And thought you would all make great guinea pigs before we did it in Portland to see how we do with it and if there are questions. We've been thinking about this for probably the last 3 years. The first time I ever heard about HD TV or digital television was in 1990, and there was a presenter from the Department of Commerce talking about creating standards. We had a video program we were doing, an updating on video program, whatever it was, back in the 90s, and this was one of the speakers, and this was the first time I had ever heard of it, and the eventual transfer from the traditional NTSC. How many of you know anything about the transfer at all? Okay. About that much. And, well, according to the National Broadcasters Council, they believe that they have 79% awareness of the population on the transfer of the broadcast system from analog to digital. And as it's turning out, people really aren't that aware. They're just being told basically that they can still use their standard television with a converter box on top, and the federal government will give you a $40 coupon, a $70 coupon if you're in a higher tax bracket apparently, to convert the incoming digital signal. Now when they're talking about the digital signal right now, they're really talking about the over-the-air broadcast signal that's coming through from your local television station. The cable stations that you're receiving your information from, and if you're receiving it by subscription satellite, they're already digital, and they have been for some time. The signal's coming down to you in compressed video MPEG-2, which is standard DVD compression. The converter box on the top of the television is doing nothing more than selecting the channels and then reconverting it back out to analog so your analog television can see it. In most cases, the newer televisions that come out now are digital ready, and that's not the case anymore, where you really need to do that. One of the things that we were concerned the most about, there's the general public awareness issue, but what's the impact going to be on libraries and law schools and really universities in general? How is this going to impact instructional technology services in the classroom? Will it impact it? The main discussions I've been having are with other librarians, and you know how they get about things. They just worry about the details of it. Can we do this? Can we do that? Libraries generally tend to be very, very format-oriented anyway. Will we still be able to use our conventional DVDs? That sort of thing. So I'm going to run through the basic technology as I understand it, and we've been looking at it. And if you have questions, feel free to jump right in there. I'm not going to wait to the end because I'd like to elicit a discussion here, and I think that would be the most useful. Okay, again, the system we're on right now, NTSC, it was developed during the war, actually before the war in the 1930s, and it's only been modified twice. In 1953, and again in 1984. And that's been it. Those are the only two modifications. It's an old system. The European standard in analog was far better than the one we have. It was developed later. And the French had to be different, of course, and they developed a system called CALI. The new system that we're moving to is ATSC, Advanced Television System Committee, and that group was actually founded in 1983. So this is something that's been going on for a while. This is actually old technology that we're now implementing. We've had an understanding of it on paper for a while. They knew how it worked in the laboratory, and for various reasons, mainly market-driven, we are now implementing it at this date. In the academic community, in media, we always had to deal with this. We'd get tapes from overseas and we'd have to convert them. You know, we're NTSC, CCAM and PAL are the other two dominant systems, and often we get tapes from overseas and we'd have to convert them. This is a global conversion. However, it's not a universal global conversion. The other countries, the other continents are developing separate digital broadcast systems. So we're not going to get away from conversion of tapes from overseas broadcasts at all. They're each developing their independent systems to ours. The most dominant that will probably replace PAL overseas is the digital video broadcast system. And that is dominating all or most of Europe and parts of Asia. The interesting thing about this system is it has a number of subsystems in it. There is DVB for satellite, DVB for terrestrial. Whenever you see terrestrial, it's over the air. DVB-C is for cable, and DVB-H is a mobile broadcast system that will allow them to broadcast high-definition video to a mobile device. Okay? Our system has yet to develop that. I can't find any trace where we're developing this, but the Europeans are, so we wouldn't be far behind, hopefully. The other thing that I should mention in this too, the Japanese, as far as high definition in general, when it came to Blu-ray and HD DVD, they were tested in those markets almost 8 to 9 years ago. When I first heard about Blu-ray, it was in 1999 from a vendor. They said it would be coming over to the United States shortly, and that it's all the rage in Japan. So a lot of those, Japan in general is ahead, and there's a basic reason for that. They have an industrial policy for implementing technology in their society in general. And when new standards come out, they're generally put to the test first in existing technologies. Where in our country, it's market-driven. And for years, when it came to this broadcast standard and the changeover, we were probably ready for the changeover in 1995. The broadcasters fought it because they had a major investment in analog equipment for production work. But what they were telling the public is that the market isn't ready for it, they're not prepared for it, they can't deal with it right now. And in fact, they had been doing this in Japan for a while. So it's the old industrial policy argument versus this market policy argument, and we're basically at this date right now because the implementation was delayed for so long. In fact, the February 2008 date for the shutoff of analog has been delayed 3 times. So this is the final date, and this is the date we're going with, unless they delay it again, which is entirely possible. This is not in a legislative history. This is an abbreviated one. The Deficit Reduction Act of 2005 finally set the following date of February 18th, 2009 for the shutoff. It had been in 2006. There was a date in 2004, but there was a number of bits of legislation that delayed that implementation. May 31st, 1989 was the first date that I could find of any discussion by a congressional committee on HDTV standards. So it had been talked about for quite a while, and between 2005 and 89 there was quite a bit of legislation in between to discuss this, plus hearings and that sort of thing. So it has been on their radar for a long time. When the changeover starts, it's primarily going to be on the UHF band, okay? The frequencies aren't changing, but the broadcasts from your local television stations are going to take place on the UHF band. So those channels on there will automatically become digital. The two government agencies, the two chief lead agencies that are handling this, the first one is the Coupon Group, which is under the U.S. Department of Commerce, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, and the FCC, of course. And the FCC probably has, out of the two agencies, the most useful information to consumers and educators concerning the transfer. So these are the spots that I usually send people to look for information, as well as Broadcasters Association website and independent websites. There are many flavors for our version of digital television. These are the three main ones. SDTV will probably be the standard that most people will be able to receive through their standard televisions. It's probably as good or better an image than what you're receiving right now if you're receiving analog over-the-air broadcasts. Okay? EDTV is SDTV on steroids. It's a little bit of an improvement, and they actually tested enhanced definition television through an old analog format in Japan, and they got better resolution out of it. So originally it started out as an analog with higher resolution. And on ESPN and in all the stores, you know what HDTV is. That's what you want to watch the football games on. It's the highest definition, and the basic differences are the resolution patterns, the pixel counts, and you can see the differences between the two. Now, there's some things I should point out on this, because it will become important in the future as one selects playing equipment and recording equipment. They come in various frame rates, and what's governing the frame rates is whether it's interlaced or progressive. Y'all know what the interlace scanning is? Okay, you get half a frame scanned in of lines, and then from the other side, the other half comes in to form a picture, okay? We've had it for years in NTSC. They have it in digital also. It comes in at a lower resolution, maybe not enough that you can see. In the progressive one, it's probably the closest to actually seeing film from a motion picture, okay? Now remember, when you're watching film, you're watching a series of still pictures with a shutter going off in between. Progressive, it builds the frame line by line on top of one another right up from the bottom of the screen, and you get a higher res just by the frames being built that way, regardless of how many lines of resolution there are in the picture. So if you're going for super high resolution, you want to get the progressive ones. They have progressive scanners and progressive DVD players. And they've actually had progressive DVD players for years. But this is the primary difference. The other significant difference, of course, is the screen ratio. the screen ratios on the HD TV is similar to what you would watch on the CinemaScope motion pictures that came out years ago, where the ratio is designed to a 71 millimeter film frame, and you have all of the lateral information on the side visually that you would want to see in the picture. This couldn't exist without HD TV because the amount of traffic and the amount of data that's required to push it along there, push it along a line, has to be compressed in digital form. Analog wouldn't handle this. So this is one of the positive outcomes of the conversion. Do any of you have any questions? Okay, Dtv Transmission Advantages. The important things to look at here is TV stations can broadcast several signals using the same bandwidth. This is called multicasting, and we'll talk more about that later because that has significance on the kind of impact that it could have on teaching and learning. They can use you can set up your system for interactive communication between both sides, for gaming and things like that, which also has educational implications. All DVD transmissions are on MPEG-2, okay, and that's what you're that's a compression standard, and that's what you're used to looking at if you're watching DVDs or if you're getting your digital signal from a satellite. And you know about the dates already. They're already posting the information. They have been posting the information in the stores. Concerning the transfer as of February last. The two formats that we've been looking at that have come out of this, of course, are HD DVD and Blu-ray. HD DVD and Blu-ray are very similar in their construction. They just record differently. Basically, HD DVD records on a finer line. It records very similar to standard DVDs. This is technically now a defunct format because Toshiba has backed away from it as of February 2008. They just said they're not going to support it anymore. Earlier on, while we were planning for our presentation, we were thinking, well, this could lead to a format war, the kind we have between Betamax and VHS. But it became more apparent as companies like Disney backed away from this format and once started going towards Blu-ray, that it was over before it started. And Blu-ray, which was produced and developed by Philips and Sony Corporation, basically records a smaller track, and that's how it compresses a lot of the information. The pits are much smaller because all optical media records by pitting the content, the digital content, on an optical disc. So, without getting into too much detail, they just can push more on a disc by a finer laser. The interesting thing here is you can see that the companies that were lined up with HD-DV, the Toshiba version, Walt Disney started pulling away in the early part of the year, and right after that Toshiba decided to pull out, and that was one of the factors I think that caused the demise of the format. The format is still available right now, but I think its life expectancy is going to be short, and which is probably a good thing. If libraries are planning to collect this high definition format in the future, having just the one out there will be better for us. Some public libraries have already started collecting this format and distributing it. So it's available now in some libraries. Okay, and this just talks about the technology, again, the differences between the two. What the costs were as of '06, they have come down a little bit, the players. And one of the things that I wanted to get into and talk about mainly after just going through that brief technology thing is the impact on schools and media departments and that sort of thing. Right now, I don't think there's going to be an immediate impact at the switchover. I mean, I think we can deal with it because with the existing equipment that we have. There's not a lot of educational media out there that we would use in the department. I oversee a department that has a fairly good sized media collection. The majority of the collection is, a shrinking number of it is VHS, but a good number of it is DVD. A lot of the distributors, especially the educational distributors, are still putting out DVDs by the boatload. I haven't seen much Blu-ray except from the entertainment distributors. And we will probably keep buying DVD while there's a demand there and while the market provides it. We don't really, it's not really an issue concerning that. We still can run current analog equipment with the changeover. I mean, this isn't like the Millennium Bug or anything. It's not that critical where, you know, the floodgates on the dams will open up and the prison doors will come open and all of that sort of thing. So, I mean, it's not that critical a panic that we're in. And most new infrastructure, like the one you're sitting in, will be able to handle this right now. I mean, clearly as you walk around the law school, the equipment's already in place. So, I mean, it's the folks with analog equipment that really has to watch it, but for now I think we can handle it and maintain the current arrangement. And one of the reasons for that is for forward and backward capability. There are machines out there now. Let me explain forward capability first. Forward capability is a backward machine that has technology for hooking up to newer high-definition equipment. For example, it'll have on the back RCA outs that are analog, as well as the high-definition multimedia interface to deal with the newer panels and screens for high-def television. So it's already integrated there. A lot of the new DVD consumer models that you would buy already have this in place. So that part of it is working as a bridge. Backward compatibility, sorry, I reversed them. Backward compatibility is newer technology that has the older stuff. Forward compatibility are the older technologies that will have the newer connects in them for the machines. So if you have both types of technology in there, for example, if you have a newer interface in a DVD player that just plays standard DVD, you're going to be able to hook into the HD TV panel without any problem. Okay? And most of the newer Blu-ray systems will be able to play older DVDs. So we'll have that bridge for a while, so I don't see where that's going to be a problem for many of us. We just have to buy the equipment that has the bridge in place. Okay? One thing that I want to talk about and maybe elicit some discussion is what the overall impacts are going to be. Again, I don't think the switchover is going to be that much of a problem for us, but it's what's down the road. You know, as an instructional technologist, as a media librarian, you always have to look over to the edge and see what's coming down the road. On the surface, I don't think this is a big deal, but it's going to have implications down the road. I can see where this system can be integrated with the internet. Okay, I can see where this new system and the technologies it's going to bring could totally eliminate physical media collections from libraries altogether. I mean, we have digital video on demand right now. We've been doing it. We produce 2-3 years ago, we stopped producing any analog, and we produce everything digitally now, audio and video. We edit in digital, and we output digital. Okay, so we're there as far as that, but this kind of wide bandwidth could lead to newer things down the road. Video on demand right now, they're using systems like VBricks in universities. Okay, they have trouble getting them up and running. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But one of the biggest roadblocks that they're having is the digital rights management and copyright restrictions with the materials. A lot of institutions want to take their film and old video collections, scan them in, and put them up on their VBricks for distributions. And of course, they're having a lot of trouble getting the permission to do that from the copyright holders and the distributors, with good reason. Some copyright holders, some of the film distributors won't give it to them, some of the producers won't give it to them, some of the distributors will give it to them, but they won't allow them to download it on their VBricks system. They have to go to the website, get a license, and use the media materials through their proprietary website. So you have all of this going on in an effort to protect people's intellectual property. The DTV system, however, has the capability through the multi-channeling to protect the digital rights of the copyright holder. How many of you are familiar with MPEG 7 or MPEG 21? MPEG 7 is not MPEG 1, MPEG 2, MPEG 3, and MPEG 4 are all compression standards for audio and video, okay, to basically move it along quickly and efficiently through the web and into digital playback equipment, DVD players, MP3 players, the like. MPEG 7 is a set of metadata descriptors that can be attached to the digital object. And I think, as I read, I think they're in line with Dublin Core also. They attach it to the digital object. It can be arranged in such a way where the receiver at the other end will have permission or not have permission to use the material. Okay. It is also set up in such a way where the sender can collect information on how the content is being used, whether it's being displayed through a projector, whether it's being run through a system, that sort of thing. And in that way, it works with MPEG 21, which incorporates a lot of the digital rights information into the tags when they send the information along. This multiple channel system that DTV has will enable that. I mean, they can put these compression standards in there for that, attach the MPEG 21 or 7 descriptors, and move it along with the content when they're providing it. They can do licensing through it. So this is one area where it may transform how we deliver media to the students, copyrighted media to the students. And, you know, it's something that we have to be looking at and really discussing. The other thing is, too, a lot of the sub-channels can carry digital data for laptops. I mean, they can actually provide Wi-Fi out in the street for it if a special antenna is developed for a laptop. I mean, so there's that potential capability also. So I guess I open it up to questions, because I've been going on for a half hour.
Who benefits by having all these incompatible worldwide SIN? Do you think that with the advent of digital, you could all get all synchronized again, but even the map shows that
No, yeah, I mean, every country, you know, the European Union developed the system I just talked about.
PSC or whatever that is.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know the answer to that. I suspected that that would be just the way of it because of politics. You know, I mean, you know, we can't get together on much, so I mean, we're not going to get together on this either. So I mean, that's just the way it is, and you know, I think though that the conversion between the different standards is going to be a little bit easier. We'll be able to do it through a computer, you know, and it's just coding and different codecs and things like that. So I think we'll be all right there. But yeah, they're going to be different formats. And actually, they're going up at the same time we are. Okay? They have May deadlines and October deadlines that they're running with.
You mentioned that between the Blu-ray and the HD DVD formats, one is defunct. I didn't catch which one.
It's the HD DVD. That's the one Toshiba developed. And they just pulled out in February and said that they weren't going to support it, which killed it. Okay, and it's they were both competing for studios aggressively. Sony was going after studios, and Toshiba was, and Sony got the lion's share, and it got defectors, and the fact that it got defectors sliding over, especially like Disney, which it's a huge media market, and once you have them, you have the world, because nobody messes with the mouse.
So, do you foresee Blu-ray, DVD, professional and consumer burners coming on the market anytime soon? Or?
I don't know. You know, I don't know how. See, this is a question that we raised here. I don't know how long what this is going to lead to, and that's why we have to be a little bit more vigilant than we have been. I don't know if this is going to eliminate all physical formats to begin with. I mean, that's the way we're going with print, and why shouldn't we go that way with media also? You know, I could see, you know, we had the archival presentation, the depository discussion next door. I mean, I could see 5, 6, 7 years from now, we'll be talking about saving documentaries that are produced in universities in those depositories. Now that opens up a whole other can of worms, archiving and space requirements, because video, analog video by itself is huge, and this stuff is humongous. I mean, if you want to save a full HD TV production at the highest resolution, it's enormous space. So, and then we have the issue of saving legacy equipment, because in our archives we have tons of analog stuff all over the country, and eventually we'll have to start converting that stuff. I mean, I went to the Saving Sound seminar that the University of Texas Library School had in '03, and all over the country there's music, there's important speeches by political figures sitting in libraries, sitting in archives, rotting on magnetic tape because they haven't been digitalized yet. Now we have to deal with the issue of this pre-digital stuff going into systems that can be distributed widely through a new digital video system. So there's all sorts of implications with that also.
Do you have a media archive and compression? I mean, Windows Media video clips or anything that you use currently to kind of disseminate your institutional archive? Or
You know how we store it, archiving it? The safest way we're told to store it is store it digitally uncompressed. The Library of Congress stores their audio files, for example, the ones that they're actually archiving, in the true definition of that word, in WAV files at the deepest bit depth they can use to protect the integrity of the content. Their distribution files are in MP3 on their service files on their servers to the public. But generally that's what they recommend. Some of the stuff we produce in our department, we keep the video, for example, if it's extremely important, like we had the Dalai Lama, we have that saved on uncompressed AVI. Because compression, remember, any type of compression, MPEG-2, that degrades the original. Very active compressing something will degrade it. So you want to archive the purest form. And that leads to issues as well. Yes, sir.
Let's say that money is no object and you don't care about spending money for a digital TV versus a converter box. You don't care about the, I don't know, the resolution of the picture and so on and so forth. Will the reception be any better on one versus the other?
Money's no object, right?
Money's no object.
Okay. The reception from the converter box is going to be the same coming in, okay? But the display is going to be different. You're talking about if you use the converter box. Yeah, the converter box, don't forget, it's got to take the signal and convert it back to analog. And when you, in that very act of doing that, you've degraded the image that's coming out. So if it's straight digital, it's going to look better, depending on what kind of display you're using.
So if you have the money, it's better just get a digital TV.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're building new classrooms, you're better off right now doing the whole thing digital. Makes sense. And eliminating all the analog stuff. Except if you're an archive, of course, then you need it.
How about, right now we're looking at a 4:3 image on this screen.
Yeah.
How soon would you say the school should be looking at converting to 16:9 with these kinds of displays, the projectors?
Well, some of the projectors will do 16:9 now. None of these, I haven't seen a projector, I mean I probably missed one, that has a straight digital input other than that DVI. All the inputs are analog. I mean, that would have to change first if we get a good picture. I know mine do the HD TV ratio if I set them that way, but still the image quality isn't there. I mean, they're still stretched, and it's difficult. But the thing is, I mean, this is a new building, and the equipment's probably 2 years old at least, 2-3 years old. I mean, it's not worth ripping it out right now because you can get around it. I mean,
From this building here?
yeah.
5 years.
Okay, but is that capital equipment?
Yeah, that was all put in 5 years ago.
I mean, still, it's probably not worth ripping it out
Right.
until that changeover comes through. I mean, you can get by with it now, and a lot of what you're projecting isn't going to be high resolution video anyway. Okay, it's still PowerPoint, it's still VGA stuff. If you take something off the air, if it's high definition, you still can probably run it through a computer and pump it through that. That's why I don't see this as a critical problem right now where we have to run out and buy this stuff. But it's if you're in building mode right now, you should be thinking about it. Any other questions? One thing I want to add, when this stuff hits full tilt, faculty start seeing high quality video on their screens, there'll be no turning back. Okay, I mean, the difference between Blu-ray and DVD is incredible, and once they see that, they're for a number of reasons. I mean, I can see in medical schools why they would want the high definition stuff now. And I think you're going to find that displays are going to go up a lot faster when people see the quality wholesale, because it's still in the stores. You know, people still right now are using it for watching football games. You really haven't seen, you know, higher definition hit the educational market. What I mean by that is First Run, Icarus, Filmmakers Library, the kind of stuff we would buy, you know, public policy programs for law schools. You haven't seen it distributed that way. And I expect that there's going to be a lag, because I remember that there was a lag from 16 millimeter to U-matic, and from U-matic to VHS. So in the educational market, I expect there'll be a lag this time as well. So, any other questions? That's all I have. Thank you.
Oh, I do have one last question.
Yes, sir.
At home, do you have a converter box or do you have a digital TV?
Where?
At home.
Oh, I have a 1988 Sony, and I subscribe to a satellite signal, so it's coming in MPEG-2 digital, and it's converting it to the Sony. The thing is, in the late 80s, Sony was making very high-resolution rasters with high-res compression, and the image looks just as good as the image on some of the lower-end digital TVs. So I mean, it's a smaller frame, but it's a converted digital signal, and it looks great. I think I'm running computer images on it, and the resolution is fairly good. So I'll probably be the last one to go over it. Yeah, that's it. But it's a Sony; they don't burn out.
Right.
Do you do any color calibration or
No, we don't. The person who does my video work is like an actor. Yeah, she would know. Straight ahead, she'll do a presentation Saturday. No, but we haven't done that.
That's the thing. That's what he said. He thought it was a thing. See, to me, that sounds sounds like something we would buy too.
You know, some of the-
Yeah.
Why
No.
are things in the
I don't know what this median notes the one, but I think it's gonna be the web course on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think you're right.
What room was that in?
That would be 160.
Okay.
It's right off the lobby where they have the computer.
Oh, yeah, I think, yeah.
I was looking for this room and I went past them thinking it was one of those. 160.
Oh, median notes is on tool for annotating video.
Oh,
In here, the little description. Of course, on a shoot. You like this one too?
yeah. No, I think I'm going to do the web course on sheets too.
Yeah.
What was the last one you went to?
Oh,
Which one was that?
it was good. And I thought it was just going to be a rehash of their article that they wrote. But they had a lot of good hints and tips and everything. So I thought it was worthwhile. Because I know it's something their school wants to do. So.
Yeah, I had a sheet printout from their webpage so we can read my little secretaries yesterday. And she wanted to know how to download this article that a faculty member wanted. And it said it was forthcoming and whatever logger it was. There was a link right above it that said, click here to download it. She missed it.
Oh, jeez.
I think I went to the
I heard that DNA thing was good. They gave me the handout for that.
oh yeah, I did go to
I wanted to do clippers too. It's like a bunch of them that are good are all different.
are clippers another service you pay for?
You would have to buy them, but our university library has them and they would let us use them. Yeah.
The,
I thought it'd be fun to keep the kids awake, you know. Make them do something.
the DNA thing was essentially one of their chief indexers, and his talk was basically how he did a survey. He took a bunch of, I guess, law students or whatever, and gave them all
I don't even know how that happened. Yeah, I don't know. I accepted it until.
Where's the unit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Even better. There was your audio.
Why?
Now you can actually control the program sound coming out of it.
Okay. So I can just mute it real quick and
Yep.
unmute it?
Yeah, and it's actually same with the microphone. There's one, there's a... Okay, yeah. There's an on-off switch on.
Okay. I'll wander for sure. I'll drive. Yeah, you can't drive it again. Which one am I doing? 797 kilobyte. 10 9 a.m. 10 9 a.m. I'm taking it to this. No, I don't. I don't want to do that. Let's just run through them real quick.
Are all of these being recorded?
This is who we are. This is why we're here. This is just a slice. For those of you who are along. Didn't give away Steve. You talk about talk about the course. Thank you, students. And then you're going to archives. And then go ahead and get that set up. Going to Twin. Learn. This is the big one, and it's got our little star thing there. Do it again. Online. Thank you. All right. So we'll go ahead and pull that up. Oops. Go to 1. And bring this down. I'm going to hope we got Firefox on